Here we are at beautiful Horsetail Falls, once again in the beautiful Columbia River Gorge, here on the Flaminbg podcast. Okay, my first adventure was in 1982, and at the time I was working at a company I hated. I was a draftsman, which I've been doing for about 5 years. I was 26 years old, and I was looking for some kind of change because I just was bored and didn't like what I was doing. So I went to a memorial concert one night for a Christian musician who had died a couple of months earlier, Keith Green. He was coming to Portland to do a concert, but he died in July, so the organizers turned it into a Keith Green memorial concert. So I went to it, and it was a awareness event also for an organization called YWAM, which was Youth with a Mission. And it was an organization that mobilized young people right out of high school to go into the mission field. And typically, these kids are 18, 19 years old, and I was 26, obviously. But something hit me, and I said, okay, I'm going to go do this. I needed the adventure. So I decided to become a YWAMer. So this is Youth with a Mission, established in 1960, and they had a campus in Salem, Oregon, which is where I decided to go, and you can see some pictures here of it. So the first 3 months is training. And then when your training's done, you head off to your respective mission field to do your missionary work. So the second part is a 2-month trip to your destination. And we had 3 groups altogether of about 30 kids in each group. One group was going somewhere in the continental U.S. The other group was going to Belize. And I was in a group chosen to go to Guatemala. So yes, we were headed to Guatemala by bus, 3,666 miles, a ride from hell. This was an old bus. It wasn't like a nice new Greyhound. But anyway, it was a long trip. I think it took us about 5 days. And there was a reason we were going to Guatemala, and that reason was in the form of the brand new president. You see, Presidente Jose Efraim Rios Montt claimed to be a born-again Christian. So now it seemed like just about every Christian organization in the world wanted to send on Guatemala for rallies. Now, back in those days with no internet, it was hard finding out lots of information about other countries other than that what you could just find in the news, because you couldn't just go do a search and find out if it was safe. We were told it was safe and there would be no problems when we left. So we got there, but almost as soon as we crossed into Guatemala, we began noticing the heavy military presence everywhere. We were stopped constantly, and soldiers would come on the buses with their machine guns, and they'd sometimes take us off the bus and line us up and look at our passports, and all the time that was just going on. Even though the country was very beautiful, it was still, everywhere we went, we were greeted by soldiers. And the reason for this was quite simple. You see, Presidente Jose Efraim Rios Montt was presiding over the bloodiest portion of the Guatemalan Civil War during his reign of 82 and 83. And like over 10,000 people died. And then he was also charged later, I'm not sure if it was war crimes, but at any extent for genocide, because he had wiped out hundreds of indigenous people's villages. So, yeah, the guy was not as clean as the driven snow. Yes, lots of soldiers everywhere and lots of indigenous people protesting, but still, it really was a beautiful, beautiful country. Now, in 1994, I embarked on my most spontaneous trip ever. It was something that I gave about 1 minute to thinking about planning and executing. I got up one morning, I couldn't sleep, turned on the TV about 1, and it was a show about the building of the St. Louis Arch. And I was so intrigued by this, I decided, oh, I just got to see it. So about 1:30 in the morning, I hopped in my car. I drove 32 hours. I got there. I took the little trolley to the top. I spent about 2 hours on the property, and I got in my car and turned around and drove home. However, I did take a detour to go see Mount Rushmore, which I had never seen, and it was pretty cool. Now, if you thought my St. Louis trip was rather spontaneous and impromptu, this next trip takes it to a whole different level. One night back in 2006, one Saturday morning in 2006, I woke up and thought, well, I'm going to clean the house today. But by the time my feet hit the floor, spontaneity and mania kicked in, and all of a sudden I had a whole different plan. So I grabbed my keys and my little travel bag and I headed to the airport. I was actually on my way to the airport less than 15 minutes after getting out of bed, and I didn't really know what I was going to do, but I got a ticket to New York and then to London, and then I decided to just keep buying tickets in a generally eastward direction until I got home, circumnavigating the world, and it turned out to be quite an interesting journey. Now, once I left Germany, I did backtrack a little bit because I wanted to see Casablanca, and I did, and it was quite beautiful. But that was cool. I also left the airport in Cairo, Egypt, because I heard about these huge pile of rocks that I just had to go see. I also left the airport in Mumbai, India, because I had a friend that I wanted to visit, and that was really nice. Thailand, very beautiful, but I didn't leave the airport because I had been there back in 1987, where I actually met Robin Williams because he was filming Good Morning Vietnam. Then it was on to Manila, the Philippines, and then Tokyo, Japan, before heading home to Hawaii, San Francisco, and Bend. And then on June 16th, I think it was, 2001, I heard that there would be a total eclipse of the sun viewable from a number of locations, but one of the best was Zambia, Africa. So I said, oh, I got to go see this. So it was only a couple days to spare. I flew from Bend to LA and then to Johannesburg and then up a little bit to Zambia. And I got there the day before. I spent the night, got up the next morning, watched the eclipse, spent the night, turned around and flew home without doing anything else. So anyway, those were some of my early fun adventures. Had a lot of fun. They were really, really great. Oh, that wasn't me. No, that wasn't me. I think that was one of my dogs. Okay, who did it? Was that you, 99? Was that you, Max? That was a pretty big fart from the little dogs. Anyway, I've got to air out the apartment and go call the hazmat now. We'll see you next time.